He is who he is, Skip Bayless. I see you shaking your head. Is Jackson's comparison here fair or foul?
Stephen A. Smith, unfair, low blow. Once again, we have Phil Jackson, the Zen master, turning back into the spin master here. He's piling on LeBron. He's kicking him when he's down. He's sticking the needle in ways that are completely unfair to me. And look, we all know that as an 18-year-old, LeBron James thought he could be the next Michael Jordan. He thought he had next and would eventually turn into number 23, and he chose to wear 23, the chosen one coming out of high school. We know all that, but we now know that there's no way that LeBron James is ever going to touch going 6 for 6 in the NBA Finals with 6 Finals MVPs. So in this case, Phil knows that. Phil wants to remind us of his past glory with Michael, obviously, and he knows full well that LeBron James isn't and won't ever be intangibly Michael Jordan. And just for the record, there is a little spin control historically here of exaggeration, because I went back and looked harder at the stats of those games, Stephen A., and I'm not sure that Michael was a man possessed in Game 3 back in Chicago then, because in Game 3, again, they're down 2-0, having lost 2 games in New York, he went 3 for 18, did the great Michael Jordan. I'm the biggest Jordan fan. I'm a fanatic, but he went 3 for 18, scored 22 points, did have 11 rebounds, and they bounced back with a 20-point win. But 3 for 18 is not a man possessed. Now, he did come back in Game 4 with 54, but the last 2 games, 29 and 25, they weren't even on LeBron's level of what LeBron did to Golden State last year in 1, 2, and 3. So I'm not sure it qualifies as possessed. It sounds good. It's a little apocryphal, but it makes for a good story, and it makes for a nice big needle to stick into LeBron James, saying, hey, why don't you just be Michael? Just be possessed tonight. Well, that's a whole lot easier said than done.
Well, a couple of points I'd like to make. Number one, it's really nice for Phil Jackson to remind us of his greatness and his great moments as a coach, because I'm too busy preoccupied with the New York Knicks under his tutelage, who are now 49 and 115 with him as president of basketball operations. I'm going to repeat that record. 49 and 115 with Phil Jackson as president of basketball operations for the New York Knicks. So I'm preoccupied. Me as a native New Yorker, lifelong diehard Knicks fan, I'm kind of preoccupied with that right now, okay? Having said all of that, did I think it was a low blow? No. Do I think it was unnecessary? Yeah. But when you're an 11-time champion and you're in an event, people roll up on you, ask you questions. He probably just answered the question. I don't think he meant any ill will towards LeBron James. I certainly did not take it that way. Here was my problem. And we all know, Skip, I'm on the record. I wanted LeBron James to win it. I didn't pick him to win. I think Golden State's the better team. And I didn't pick emotionally this time around, thank the good Lord. But the point is that I really would like LeBron James to win. I don't want a 5th NBA Finals loss on his resume. I think he's too great. I think he deserves better than that. But the flip side to it is that it's statements like he made yesterday at the press conference. These are the moments where I get irked by him. Because the fact of the matter is that it's a flat-out lie. LeBron acts like he's never been possessed before, like he wouldn't know what that lingo and that vernacular and language is all about. He most certainly does. I was in attendance. He had lost in the finals to the Dallas Mavericks. He had turned around, and in the Eastern Conference Finals the following year, he was on the verge of losing to Paul Pierce, who's doing great work for us, by the way, with our pregame show with Doug Collins and Sage and Jalen. Paul Pierce was on that squad. KG, Kevin Garnett was on that squad. Ray Allen and those boys, Rondo, were on that squad. They were down 3-2. And LeBron, and we all went to Boston because we anticipated that LeBron would come up short again, and this time not even make the finals, because Boston was going to get it done. And LeBron had that look in his eye, and ultimately he dropped 45 and 15, if I remember correctly. Yep. Dunked on Paul Pierce, stared him down and walked to the free throw line. I mean, he did everything. He was unbelievable. And that look in his eyes, like a man possessed, was so vicious and so piercing in its own way. Miami had it up at the arena. You actually saw a photo of LeBron kneeled over, just looking as if he saw nothing but whatever his mission was. And he was completely dominant. Well, that's the kind of thing Phil is alluding to. Maybe Phil didn't remember because it wasn't one of his players. It wasn't Jordan or Kobe or Pippen or Shaq or somebody. But that's the kind of moment he's talking about. And for LeBron to sit up there on that podium and to act like a moment like that never occurred in his career, and to act like he can't be that way again, says to me he doesn't think that'll be enough to beat Golden State. That's what I get from that. Because to me, there's no reason not to be that way. There's no reason not to reminisce about that moment and to understand that certain moments require a certain level of elevated greatness from you. And I'm not saying that's what he's thinking, but I'm saying that's what I heard when he made that statement, because I'm thinking if LeBron is possessed, who the hell can stop him? Nobody. So what's wrong with saying, I got to really step it up. I got to take this bull by the horn. Maybe he doesn't want to say it. Maybe he wants to show it. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt in that regard. But I don't want to hear from him, well, I'm just going to be me. I can't be Jordan. I can't be Ali. I'm not one of those guys. Well, we're just using that metaphorically to state that there are moments that kind of persona, that kind of aura, that kind of mentality is required. And it is required tonight from LeBron James. Just accept it, embrace it, and go for it. That's my thought.
I'm going to defend LeBron on this point. Now I think you're being slightly unfair to him, because when this man is 2-4 in NBA Finals and he's down 0-2 to a record 73-win team, I don't think he's in any position to say, sure, love the comparison. I'm going Michael Jordan on them in Game 3. I just don't think
But I'm not asking for a comparison.
Okay.
I'm not asking for a comparison. I am in no way saying that LeBron James should compare himself to Ali, Jordan, or anybody else. I specifically highlighted, I am alluding to LeBron James being that possessed individual from that Game 6 at TD Bank Garden in Boston that night. That's what I'm talking about. I'm saying you've been that before. You're going to need to be that again. Just because Phil Jackson didn't mention his name or didn't recall, evidently, what LeBron has done, I'm saying I recall when LeBron has been the exact individual that he was saying that he couldn't be yesterday. I can't do that. All I can be is me. I'm saying, yeah, but that was you. There are moments in your career where that dude showed up. I saw it against Detroit. I saw it against Boston. I saw it against the Spurs. I've seen LeBron get there. I'm saying this is a moment that requires it again. I'm not disrespecting this man. I'm not being unfair to him in any way. I am simply summoning up what he has in him. I've seen him do it. And I believe he could do it again. Now, whether that translates to victory is another matter entirely. But I'm saying as it pertains to his own individual responsibility, there is nothing wrong with LeBron James standing tall and saying, I'm going down swinging. I'm not going out like this. Because that's really what it comes down to, Skip. I'm not going out like this. Magic has lost. You know, others have lost before. Isaiah has lost. Julius Erving has lost. Plenty of people. If a Bird has lost. But there's a difference between losing and going out in docile fashion. He can't go out in docile fashion. He has to raise up and say, damn that. Y'all, I'm trying to do this by my damn self if I have to. I'll be damned if I sit back and let y'all just lollygag around and I'm going to lose another NBA Finals. You have to go down swinging.
Okay, I got you. But he did go so far as to say this is do or die tonight.
Fine.
I appreciated that.
So did I.
I just think he's in no position to tell us what he's going to do. To say,
that.
I'm going to be Ali against Foreman and Zaire. I'm going to rope-a-dope him, and then I'm going to knock him out. he's in no position.
That's fair.
It's like, just, you know what? I don't even care what he said yesterday. Don't tell me, show me. Don't tell me, show me tonight. We're done with words. It's time for action.
But you're missing my point. I'm not saying he should have said any of those things. I'm saying just don't knock down the point that somebody else is making when you know in the crevices of your soul that's what you need to do. I'm not saying you have to speak on it. I mean, LeBron could have sat up there when approached by about the Jordan comment or the Phil Jackson comment. He could have sat there and said, I have nothing to say. I got a game to play tonight. I better be ready. I'm not saying that he has to say what we want him to say. I'm not saying that he has to articulate and elocute certain points of view. I'm saying he has to fully embrace the responsibility that comes along with his talent as it pertains to his own individual effort and commitment. You can't just, what I saw in game 2 was a guy that watched his team get completely overwhelmed and sat back and joined the team.
Yep.
What I'm saying to you is the great ones, even though they're ultimate team players, will distance themselves from their own teammates in moments like that to say, I'm not going out like this.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Look, I hear you. We have seen flashes of playing possess from LeBron James. We saw the, what was it, in 07 in the Eastern Conference Finals, the 48 against Detroit at Detroit. We saw the game 6 at Boston. Heck, we saw him game 7 against my Spurs after Ray Allen hit the shot that I'm trying to forget in game 6. But I thought he played possess in game 7 when Pop's daring him to shoot, and he not only shot, but he made game 7 shots. My point to you all along was I don't see it consistently from this great player. Great ability, but for reasons I can't explain, he disengages when I least expected. He's just not into it. He wasn't into games 1 and 2. What is that about?
Well, you're making my
I don't
point.
know. I don't know.
You're making my point. I'm saying to you, he needs to be fully engaged.
I'd say.
Fully locked in.
Yeah.
You don't have to verbalize it. I totally agree with you. But what you don't want to do is squash it and dismiss it as if the overall underlying point by Phil is invalid. Phil may have used the wrong words. Phil may have needed to be quiet and concern himself with Knicks business, considering their 49 and 115 record under his stewardship. Not to mention the fact that he's got somebody like Melo who's cold-blooded if he got to these moments, but Melo has never played in an NBA Finals. So we understand that. All I'm saying is that if you're LeBron, you don't need to be dismissing the point that Phil is making, because guess what? Phil happens to be right. He just has no business speaking on this matter right now.
By the way, one last point, because I covered Phil Jackson in Chicago. He does not speak off the cuff. It is always calculated, always premeditated. There is method to the madness. Everything that comes out of his mouth has a reason for being. It's trying to take you in some direction. And in this case, he's trying to remind you, remember what I used to do with Michael Jordan? And he's also trying to stick it to LeBron. That's just me.
I wouldn't know that. You covered him. I did not. But I will tell you that, I hope the ultimate method to Phil's madness is to lure a star like Kevin Durant to New York. Because I am being told that Kevin Durant suddenly might consider New York as well. I know it's something that Melo wants. I don't know anything about it. I just know something that I heard yesterday from a reliable source. But what I will tell you is that let Phil put his own money where his mouth is when it comes to being an executive and recruiting some talent to come to New York to help out Melo. How about that?
Yeah, I told you a while back, I've got a pretty good source, too, a couple of them, and that Kevin would definitely be interested in the Knicks. He's just interested in New York City, period. The Garden, Big Apple.
Well, I know that would make Rock Nation very happy.
Oh, would it?
Very interesting. Love to have great basketball back in the Mecca there. All right, so here is the question. We want you guys to get involved in the conversation. Obviously, we all know this is a must-win game, but who will win? We just posted it on Twitter. Go vote. I'm still torn. I'm going to vote during the commercial break. Skip and Stephen A. will make their picks later on in the show.
Do you want to divulge?
No,
Oh.
I will after.
Okay.
I have the commercial break to think about it, right? And you brought up Kevin Durant, Stephen A. Everybody getting in line for the chance to get KD this summer. Well, almost everyone. One Warriors player doesn't understand why they would